Hey guys, what's up? In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about ENS names or Ethereum Name Service names and how to go about getting your own Ethereum ENS name. So if you've spent any amount of time on crypto Twitter, you would have seen a fair amount of pretty famous people with names like this, with a .eth in them. So for example, here's the profile of Vitalik Buterin, who's the original creator of Ethereum, and you can see that his Twitter name is vitalik.eth. But it's not just crypto insiders like Vitalik. So for example, if you go to Shaquille O'Neal's Twitter profile, we see that even he has this Shaq.eth name on Twitter. So it's clearly a much more broad phenomenon than just people who are deep in the crypto rabbit hole. In fact, if you want to see all the people who have .eth names, you can go to this website, ethleaderboard.xyz, which collects this information and ranks them by the number of Twitter followers. So I'm going to be showing you today how you can get your very own .eth name just like Shaq and Vitalik. So let me start off by explaining first what exactly an ENS name is. When you first make a wallet and connect to the Ethereum blockchain using an application, for example, like MetaMask, your wallet and your account is associated with this complex 64-digit long hex string, which is known as your public key. So you can see my public key right here. This complicated looking thing, 0xD1E ... FCA7. As far as identifying your account specifically goes, this hex string works fabulously. But in terms of being human readable and rememberable, it's really bad. So for instance, if someone wants to send you an asset on the Ethereum blockchain and you tell them your address is 0xD1 E ... I can guarantee you 100% they're not going to remember that name. And this is where ENS names come in. So ENS names map this 64-digit hex public key onto a human readable string. So for example, my public key 0xD1E ... FCA7 can get mapped to a much more human readable string like Jyotirmay.eth, or Shaq's public address can get mapped to Shaq.eth, or Vitalik's public address can get mapped to Vitalik.eth. And this way we get a very nice and simple identifier that we can use across all Web3 applications. So for an example of how ENS.eth names are used all across the Web3 ecosystem, I'm going to connect to OpenSea, which many of you might know is the biggest NFT marketplace on the Ethereum blockchain. First, before I can do anything, I need to connect my wallet so that I can buy or sell the NFTs that I want. So to do that, I go up here, I go to Profile, and I click Connect with MetaMask, since that's the wallet I have. The pop-up appears, and I select my account, which you can see here, it's saying my account is 0xD1E ... FCA7, the painful public key that I definitely do not remember. So I'm going to connect using that. Connect. And you see that in OpenSea, sure, it knows that my address is 0xD1E2, but more importantly, the name it shows by default is my .eth name, Jyotirmay.eth. And actually, fun fact, so if you go to the NFTs that I own, you see that I actually own this Jyotirmay.eth. It's an NFT made by the Ethereum Name Service. What actually happens is that these Ethereum names are NFTs, which means that once they're made, they can never be issued again, which is what allows you to have a unique identifier in the first place. Because if multiple people could register the same .eth name, then it would not be very useful. So these actually appear as NFTs that you can buy and sell. So it turns out that ENS is actually the most natural extension into Web3 of a very core Web 2 concept called DNS, which is what allows you to go to Google's website by typing in google.com instead of Google's IP address. So for instance, we all know we can do this. We can go to google.com by typing in its URL, but actually what's happening behind the scenes is that this google.com is getting converted to some IP address that is then where the website is actually hosted. And if I wanted to skip this URL step and not use DNS, I could actually put in Google's IP address. I could type in something way less friendly, like 172.217 0.21.46, and it would still take me to Google. So DNS does the exact same thing on the backend of Web 2 as ENS aims to do in the backend of Web 3. And given that no one uses IP addresses to access websites anymore, you can see how useful having a .eth name will ultimately turn out to be in the future. Okay, so now we have a better idea of what ENS names are and why they're useful. So how do we actually go about getting one? Well, we need to buy one from the Ethereum Name Service, and that's pretty straightforward. You can do it very easily in your browser. So just go to app.ens.domains. And you see, as soon as you come here, your wallet pops up asking you to connect to the website. So once again, I'm going to do the exact same thing we did in OpenSea. I'm just going to connect. And you see over here, it said I'm connected to the main network, and the Ethereum Name Service automatically shows my ENS name.eth, just like OpenSea did. Of course, when you first connect to the Ethereum Name Service, you won't necessarily have an ENS name, so you'll just see your normal 0x whatever public key up here. Now to actually get an ENS name, you can search for whatever you want and see if it's available. So I'm just going to do something like test name 123, and let's search. No one's claimed it. We know it's available because it tells us it's available, and there's a green sort of stripe next to its name. So now we can actually try claiming it. So there's a bunch of options that you have to select before you can claim it. So the first thing that you want to ask is how long do you want to register this name for? And the price increases the longer you want to register. So for example, 1 year will cost you $5 worth of ETH. If you increase it to 2 years, it'll be $10, 3 years, 15, blah, blah, blah. Now the reason why there's a registration period is to make sure that people can't squat on .eth names. So that's why this registration period exists, to prevent squatters from monopolizing all the names and just charging exorbitant fees, because that's really unfair. You can choose your registration period and the price will increase accordingly. In addition to the registration price, you also have to pay the gas fee. And of course, the gas fee will change depending on the state of the network. So if the price is too expensive at one point in time, just wait a little and see if it improves later when the network is less busy. So now once you've decided how long you want your name for and you're happy with the gas fee, you're gonna have to complete these 3 steps. I'll walk you through what happens here. So first, you request to register. So click request to register. Your wallet should pop up and it asks you to confirm this transaction, which is required for the registration. So first, you wanna confirm this transaction and ask it to process. I'm not going to, since I don't want this name, but that's what you would do. Then you would wait while that registration transaction is processed. And then finally, once it's processed, you can do the main transaction, which is what will cost for us $90. Your wallet should reopen, and then you can click confirm on the main final transaction. And once that is processed, you will be able to see your Ethereum name. So while that's processing, you should see where it says request to register here. You'll see a small message saying transaction processing. And once that's done, you can go into my account and you can see your Ethereum names. So for example, the only Ethereum name I own is jyotirmay.eth. One very important thing you want to do after you have bought your .eth name is to do this primary ENS name reverse record. So you want to click this and you want to basically designate one of your ENS names to represent your ENS account and act as your cross-platform Web3 username. So just because you bought an ENS name doesn't automatically assign your public key to that name. You have to select that right here. The reason for this is because people can own multiple ENS names and you have to specify which ENS name you want to be your primary one that points to your public address. So if I go down here, I only have my jyotirmay.eth, so I'll select that and you can save it. It'll ask for a gas fee because you're changing something on the blockchain. You're changing the record of what your ENS name is. So you'll have to pay a fee associated with this as well. But once you've done it, you should see that your primary ENS name is whatever you chose it to be up here. To confirm that you set your primary ENS name correctly, you can go to Etherscan, which is the Ethereum block explorers, and you can search for your ENS name. So I'll search geothermite.eth, and you can see that it shows that the controller is the 0xD1, which is of course my painful public key. And if I click on it, I can see all my transactions and my balances, just like I would if I just put in my normal public address. And that's about it. So if you were able to do all of these steps correctly, you now have your own .eth ENS name, just like Vitalik, Shaq, and hundreds of thousands of other crypto users. And you can use this as your one single unified identity across the entirety of Web3 applications, such as OpenSea or Uniswap or whatever. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this tutorial was helpful to you, and please subscribe for other cool crypto tutorials in the future.